right. Good day, good day, good day. Let me know, folks, in the chat if you can hear me. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, right? That's the check-in signal. Thumbs up. Let me know you're out there and that you can hear me. Yay! Well, good day, everybody. Welcome to what I call this is an impromptu jump in real quick to do a short chat. You know, my day is normally Saturday or Sunday, but I thought, okay, I got a little bit of time today, and there have been a handful of things that have hit the news cycle. Although everyone has been chitter chattering and talking about fun stuff happening in and around Harry and Meghan, I thought this is a great chance for me to just chat just for a short minute or two, just to let you know I'm still out there, even though I'm off schedule from time to time. But it's good to see you guys here and there, all right? Now listen, as usual, even though it's going to be a shortened version, get your coffee if you're having coffee. It's about lunchtime where I am, so you still can have your coffee for the afternoon, get yourself a little bit perked up and ready to go. Yes? I'm excited, and I know you are. So here's what's been going on. Welcome to the All for Success X channel. That's a tongue twister. But what I like to always point out about this channel is that I am definitely a supporter of things Harry and Meghan. And I always come at these things from the point of view of a mother of adult children. When I look at Harry and Meghan, I basically see my kids and their husbands and their children. And I think, this is how I would feel if I were watching my kids go through some of these moments of exploitation or barriers to some of the things they want to do in life. But you know what's beautiful about it, looking at these things from the parent's point of view, is that you become aware that your kids, no matter how much they may endure and go through and the things that they try to achieve, that if you trust in them and support them, you know what? They are probably going to come out on the other side. That is the truth of the matter. At least that's what it means for me to be a parent of adult children. I'm always terrified for them. It's funny. I'm looking at adults now with children of their own, and I'm still just as terrified as watching them dive off of a diving board in a swimming pool for the first time. It's the same. It's just that we're all now older, right? But you feel the same, emotions are tied up in how your kids are doing. Are they doing well? Do they feel okay? And the like. What can I say? We're parents, and we're parents forever. All right, so what I'm going to be doing while you all are hitting the thumbs up button, I'm going to be sitting here trying to adjust my mic, adjust my headphones, get myself together. So please disregard the scrambling and the noise in the background. That sounds like I'm about to lose my mind, okay? Meanwhile, I have a couple of little, what I call animated clips of watching our Duchess enter the high fashion, super fashion week. Let's see if I can get them to play pretty well and just enjoy the moment. Okay, folks? Let's see. Look at that lady strut her stuff, snapping her photos. And let's run through that again, of course. Yes. Hugs all around. You know what? Smooth. She just entered in there smooth, people. And I have to say, elegant. Looked wonderful. And everyone has been raving about how beautiful she took to that moment and how wonderful she looked stepping out in that particular event. I think it's fantastic. Now, of course, what did the folks on the other side of the wall do? Well, from the other side of the wall, we clamored about, oh, who invited her? Why did they invite her? Oh, she forced her way in. She made them have her come and visit. Aren't they whining? They're just whining all the time. All the time. whining, whining, and whining. They never ever stop the whine fest. So, do we know why they can't cut off the whine fest? Why is it that they just can't seem to let it go? I'm hitting buttons, trying to get my feedback back online. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm trying my best to hear you. Once again, in our worldwide run of trying to stay with the proper mic check, you guys, thank you so much for hanging in there with me. Hang in there with me. Yes, indeed. It's called the technical world of adventure. Thank you so much. All right, so again, be reminded to get your exercise in and stay fit. Now, as we said, our girl had a moment. She strolled out there for Paris Fashion Week. She looked great. She was turning heads, and people were thinking, uh-oh, I'm in the world with the Duchess of Sussex slash Meghan, right? All that is phenomenal. Now, Harry, everybody was wondering, okay, where is Harry at and what is he doing? Well, Harry was still hanging out on his side of the world and doing his thing, helping all of the different groups that he is still a wonderful matron of. And it's exciting because once they showed back up again together in New York, what happened? Again, they broke the camera feed. They showed up in New York. They got an award for their work with people doing things to try to make online working with social media and safety. And they just, again, blew up the internet. But you see, in the background of all of this is the same machine. We talk about it often here. The reason I stay focused on the media in the background and the firm in the background is because it is a machine designed to create spin and havoc. Their entire job is to retell or reshape every story that hits the newspapers, right? So for a few moments, you know what they tried to do? They jumped out, all the awful things that Meghan was doing. They tried to critique every photo she took. They tried to critique even her driving along and putting up little posts on Instagram of where she was in Paris. They tried to make that negative and try to somehow tie it to disrespect of Diana. They tried to create stories that don't exist, right? They tried to place her in places that she wasn't. All of that is what they do because they are high end on the spin. It is what they live for. Total moments of spin. And they constantly, constantly try to keep in the forefront of everyone's mind how awful of a person she must be. That she is just the absolute worst. Now, fortunately for the Sussex fans, and for the greater population, this story just won't stick. It's hard for it to stick because, on the flip side, Harry and Meghan have given you their information. Harry and Meghan have already provided you their point of view. So, what do they not do? They do not come out and say anything specific about any particular individual, which, in my opinion, they could. I mean, think about it. How many of these broadcasters and television personalities that we see here that have made comments negatively, of course, about Harry and Meghan and their lives, but you notice that H&M never bring them up, not by name. They don't go out and do any particular, what do you call it, retraction of what they're saying. They don't even comment on the fact that they are saying these things. What we see on the flip side is simply Harry and Meghan may file a lawsuit, right? Archwell might file a lawsuit, and thus it's handled. They just deal with it from there. Look at some of the characters that you haven't seen in a minute, but I am certain you're going to hear something come back around, perhaps about their whereabouts or what they are doing. Do you realize through this Paris Fashion Week and all of these things, the awards that Harry and Meghan are working with right now, but have you noticed how quiet and the disappearing act perhaps of her family, her father? He supposedly moved away perhaps to Asia. Things are quiet. Have you noticed that the sister, who usually has a reason to be on TV being interviewed by any and everyone, for the moment, she seems to have slipped out of the media? So either, in my world, either that means someone is laying low, waiting for their next opportunity, or it means that perhaps behind the scenes, they are quietly being shut down, right? Something might be maneuvering quietly to get them out of the limelight. Because, believe it or not, they were a greater embarrassment for all of these people who were anti-H&M. The only few people, even including these people pictured here, they are still negative when it comes to the Sussex family. They try to still turn things into some sort of negative retrench. But for the most part, I don't feel that they are as bright as they once were. I feel that they are slowly trying to fade out. Now, I have a couple of theories about that. My major theory about that is, and let me know if you kind of think this as well, I'm beginning to think that whoever is backing this energy and always had been backing this energy probably got caught up in a problematic situation, and they themselves are trying to hide out. Now, I'm going to jump from there, right, all the way over to what's going on with the royal family today, right? Well, as we know, the big news in the royal family today is what? The connections with Jeffrey Epstein, who is the individual that was accused and in jail at the time for trafficking of persons, right, for all kinds of nefarious reasons, and the man who was connected globally with people of power, right? Globally connected with people in powerful positions, right? That is right now the number one news story that is feeding all other news stories, right? So I am guessing and I am thinking that as teeny tiny bits of information are leaking out in and around that entire case, the horrible case involving Virginia Giuffre, right? The stories that are coming out, and also, folks, the book also by Giuffre. Her book is landing out here everywhere. And although it would appear that her book is vague in name calling, it's somewhat vague in pointing a direct finger at specific people. Her book is giving a support platform to perhaps anyone else that may want to make accusations. And from what I understand, there are about 36 additional people involved. So think about that. She has gone on, of course, to the next place. But her book was just published and has now hit the streets. So people are going to pick it apart and comb through it for all sorts of specific information. And she was very clear that she was flown from different place to different place, and flown from New York to the islands and the Bahamas, even to various resorts. But her job was to do what? Please various men that were pointed out in the group. And from the list of people that were known by the person who is no longer even with us, Mr. Epstein, the only person who is still living and was a witness to these crimes specifically was Ghislaine Maxwell. And she is still pseudo-imprisoned, but her lips are sealed. And that is because the people at the level that they were dealing with and working for, their level of connection and network is extremely high. So these are secrets that people intend to keep, right? They intend to forever maintain these secrets, right? I think the depiction of folks who keep secrets, various clubs, various organizations, these people maybe went to the same schools, they hung around each other and met each other in casual settings. They have an entire network that they are trying to protect. And it's very difficult to have a network like that just completely broken down and torn apart. They don't want anyone to believe anything about them that will paint such a horrifying picture of who they really are. Right? But her book is exposing some of the dirty underbelly of people who participate in this type of lifestyle in such a way that it is preying upon other people unwittingly and in a negative fashion. For example, the way that these people live and the things that they do, the stuff that is rubbing off on them, if everyone were consenting adults who were in the business of providing all these services, you would almost overlook it. You wouldn't really be concerned. But to find out that, in fact, many people may have been drawn into this lifestyle, whether they were tricked or coerced or even manipulated into this lifestyle, very young ages. I mean, when I think of myself at age 14, wow, I could have been convinced to do almost anything if it was presented in a certain way. 14 to 16, you know how much you might fall for at that age? Someone buying you nice clothes and taking you to lavish parties, introducing you to very rich people. You could very easily be strung along and find yourself in a weird situation. And so this is what the legacy of Virginia Giuffre is actually letting everyone know, that there is an entire world out there that is feeding upon people who have dreams and hopes, people who want to be rich and famous, entertainers, and so forth. How easy it is to slide in under these people's wishes and dreams and to present them a world where they think and believe it can happen for them and be provided with no strings attached. And that's just not likely. It is just so very unlikely, right? But that's the story of Virginia Giuffre. So what is the flip side? For the flip side, what's happening is, while the firm is trying to quietly stay out of the fray of the fallout with this young lady being a primary accuser of Prince Andrew, right? They're trying their best to stay as clear from it as they can, but the water level is rising, and it is a water level that has reached their chins. It's almost up to they're up to their necks, but they're now, the water level is beginning to cover the bottom chin. With Prince Andrew's situation and Prince Andrew being involved with this young lady, even though he is denying it, right? Although he's trying to deny it, he can't escape it. His name has been mentioned too many times. Not only that, he himself linked himself with Jeffrey Epstein, right? So now the only part you need to put together is, since you knew Jeffrey Epstein and he's being held in abeyance now for dealing and moving around in the world of women who are underage, you're drawing a connect the dots to Prince Andrew because you were very intimately associated with this man. This is what is heightening the excitement around trying to keep the attention focused everywhere but on the royal family. But in this particular case, H&M, Harry and Meghan, messing with them can't save you. Trying to discuss the Sussex family as a footnote to what is happening with Prince Andrew will not save you. In your news, at the news table, when you're discussing titles being removed or whether this person should step down, when you try to slip in a reference to Harry and Meghan, oh no, 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 no. You are off. You've just fallen off. But they keep trying it. They keep trying it. Somehow they want to weave in how something about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex can be related to whatever this failure is of the royal family and how they have handled Prince Andrew for more than 40 years. Right? Somehow they want to try to wrap these two things together. And the world is not having it. The world is not going to let you have it. You know, when you discuss removing the title from Prince Andrew, and then you want to slide in, let's discuss removing the titles from the Sussex family. No, it doesn't matter. The world is not the world is not interested, and it doesn't matter. Even if they have their titles or don't have their titles, it will not change who they are and what they are doing. But you can try to wind those two stories together, right? Now you're trying to discuss what should happen with the Royal Lodge, which is where he stays, his property, right? Now you're trying to wind in the story of whether he should be asked to leave that property. Well, well, you stole the Sussex property out from under them. Well, what's the problem? Why is this so difficult? Why is it that now you have to discuss this ad nauseum? Right? You took back a gift from the Sussex family, right? You were nasty enough to take a gift bestowed upon them, and now you're not sure if Prince Andrew should be asked to leave the Royal Lodge. Now there's a question, and you got to discuss it and think about it, right? Now you got to look at a lot of paperwork and make some questions and answer some questions and not know. Now you're confused, but you snatched a gift from one senior member. You just took the gift because you didn't like the man's wife. Or if you didn't, either you didn't like the man's wife or you wanted the man's wife to do something she didn't want to do, right? She wouldn't agree to do what it is you wanted her to do. And there are 1,000 questions out here in the world that could be, what might that have been? Right? Knowing old stories from royal families centuries back, wonder what that could have been. What might you all have been into that this person said, no, I'm not doing that, right? But anyway, that's another story, and that is a live I'm going to do later. We're going to talk about some of the practices in the old world of the royal families and the aristocrats and what they expected from the wives slash girlfriends and betrothed persons, into their families, how they got caught up and mixed up in all kinds of intrigue. Yeah? So we're going to get to that. But that's Virginia Giuffre's story. So her story is out there. People are picking through it. People are reading through it. And one of the things that even I have read so far, although I plan to do, I'm really wanting to do like a deep dive of book readings. And I don't know if you guys are interested in that. And if you are, put a thumbs up or type the word book, in the chat below if you would be interested in me doing a couple of readings, maybe a few chapters here and there, and then maybe talking about various book readings. Let me know if you're interested, because it would be something I might like to do. Yes, I would love to do that. So if you're interested, let me know. But in one of her entries, she mentioned the fact that Jeffrey Epstein, right? There is an element about him that she cared for, right? That she thought he was a good person trying to do good things. She had a feeling about herself from time to time that he also needed, what do you call, a level of support. Like she, in a way, in some of her actions, felt that she was helping him. Now that is intriguing. But it often happens with women who are caught up in these particular type of adventures. It's kind of the pimp mentality. The women who are servicing the pimp, they begin to believe that they are part of the machinery to support the pimp, right? And that's probably where she began to fall, right? So I'm so excited to see this is happening, and the firm is spinning It's wheels, but as usual, they're probably going to try their typical methods. And what are their typical methods? One, try to stay above the fray in all of it, act like they're not involved with it and that they don't know what's actually going on. They're going to pretend that everything that Prince Andrew does or doesn't do, they're going to act as if he is such a lone operator and they have no knowledge of his activities as they try to distance themselves from him. And I think when they get right down to it, what they're probably going to try to do is get him to agree to basically go hide out, right? Like he could move to, let's say, Israel or Saudi Arabia. That's a place where people just go and they hide out because no one's going to come and bother you there, you know? But they're looking into all the other things that he has been involved in and all the other deeds. And there are so many. There are things that even involve him accepting money from various entities. There was the, what is it, a scandalous event. And when I was young, I remember this scandalous event where he supposedly was making deals with agents out of China at the time. So he's got so many of these kinds of things going on in his background and in his life, which will then do what? It might lead or expose additional stuff that the firm itself is involved in, where the people have no idea some of the dealings that these people are involved in. Right? Because when you get right down to it, let's face it. Why would ever anyone in or around the royal family need to do things to get money? Think about that. Isn't that amazing? Like like for me, I would be thinking, what would the royal family need money for? Everything is provided for you. Why would you need money? But that is the story behind almost each one of them. So it draws in Andrew. It sucks in Sarah Ferguson, right? Because she, of course, has been associated with the royal family and has moved in a circle, right? She has moved in a level of operation throughout her life being associated with the royal family via her ex-husband, Prince Andrew, and now her daughters, because they are also princesses. So now all of this is now a part of that three-legged stool that is crumbling, right? Because it's showing a bright light on how the family operates and the problems that it has, and who pointed it out? Prince Harry in his book. So that's again, fun thing. I'm going to try to go back to the book to pull out some of the details that maybe we missed that might relate to what we're seeing here, right? At least I'm excited about that. Now listen, I don't know. I got sidetracked. I'm so sorry. I started to ramble. Let me see really quickly who is here in the chat, if anyone. I know most of the time people are so busy. They're like, we don't have time to be jumping in the chat. Okay. Oh, King for Concepts, thank you for being here. Hello everyone, and hello to you. How goes it? Well, things are going fairly well lately. You know, I'm taking a little bit of time off, trying to get some rest, but I am still fighting the exercise and back pain, just so we keep you up to date. Thank you so much for being here. I love it that you're here. Let's see who else is here. Joyce Anderson. Oh my, we all super squatties in the house, people. She says, good Thursday afternoon. Thank you so much. Yes, I know I surprised you all because I just jumped in here out of nowhere. I don't know. I was thinking at first, I tell you, I felt like I was in lead trying to get something together. Look, she says she's driving when I popped up. I'm so glad. But now you watch that road, young lady. Keep your eyes on the road. You can come back to me later. Be careful. Oh, okay. I got one agreement here. Carla G, thank you for being here. Book. All right. Well, I'm going to try to put some things together, get my act together, and try to do some of that. I think that'll be fun to do. I tell you, sometimes I get stuck in the mud sometimes on, should I do this in the podcast? Should I do that in a podcast? How should I do this in the podcast and so forth? But I tell you, I'm going to try to get it together for us, and we're going to try to do a little bit of a read. Oh, look here. All right, Connie Bummer is also here in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I love it. You guys are super squatties, and we know this, right? So you don't know how much I appreciate having you stop in, drop by, and listen to me babble on and on, even though I sound like and feel like I'm just about to lose my mind sometimes, but appreciate it. So I did jump on just out of the middle of nowhere, and I might try to gather my wits. I've been a little down in the dumps in getting online, like right after I see something. But I said, let me just compile a few thoughts and then run through them while I'm sitting here chatting with you guys. But I'm loving what I am seeing happening out here in the world of the royals and the Sussex firm. They are definitely experiencing a little bit of pain in their process. And why? Because they keep trying to make Meghan something that she is not. They keep trying to create a form of Meghan that isn't what she is, right? Meghan, when she showed up at Fashion Week, right, or even in New York, she is embracing friends and family. She even, this photo, I have a photo here, I hope you guys can see it, where she actually went to a tennis match of, that is like a fundraiser, supporting a family that lost their son. These are things that are, for them, they are personal and they are real. Although they may be limited by how much work they can do and how many public appearances they can make, I like the fact that she thought about the fact that her appearance, her thoughts, her process leads to impact. And you got to think that that is wonderful, that she is paying attention to the impact, right? Because so many people don't. They just jump around and do things. So, with that being said, again, I am so glad that you guys came through. I am still going to drop you all a short, fast, quick, you know me, I have to dig out a scripture. And I'm telling you guys, don't you all sit there and start acting nuts on me like I'm trying to draw you into some type of religious fervor. That's not it. It's just scriptures that kind of give me a thought process and then I jump off of it. So, you know what? Think about it. So here today, before we close out, today, Proverbs 24:16, here's a thought. It states that the righteous fall 7 times and rise again. Think about that in relationship to the Sussex family. They have tough times. They fall down. They have to get up, dust themselves off, and get back up. But the wicked stumble in times of calamity. And what this verse is suggesting is that the righteous individuals, they persevere through their setbacks, but they ultimately will get up, sometimes while the wicked will ultimately be defeated by their troubles. Let's keep that in mind, people. Let's keep that in mind. These guys are getting ready to be hit by various troubles. They've got to deal with those troubles, right? And on the other side of that wall, look at what they're trying to do to navigate around those troubles. They're trying to hide it. They're trying to make up stories. They're trying to do everything they can do to distance themselves from the troubles. And here's the deal. Here's the true story. They know and they are in danger of this. Removing Andrew from the spot that he refuses to go will probably lead Andrew to spilling the beans and opening the floodgates. And they have to figure out how they are going to deal with that. Why? Because Andrew has kept their secrets. all the while being thrown out and under various buses. Andrew played the role of the second son, even though he may not have wanted to. So they're stuck because, above all, they owe him. And they've got to figure out how to deal with this because the world is watching. Look at what you did to Harry and Meghan. And from the point of view of Harry and Meghan, they didn't do anything to you. And now you've got on the flip side Prince Andrew. And they're somehow going to try and clean that up and make it work. So, folks, we're all here. We're going to have to stand by and watch how they're going to try to play this game. I have some theories. I'm going to throw them out later. But I have a couple theories. But I think one of them will be they're going to try to get him to disappear in a fog. They're going to try to get him to disappear in a fog somewhere. and just dissipate, like, so that you just forget you ever knew he existed. Right? But I don't think it's going to work. But that's what they're going to try. But we're going to keep him in their memory. Right? We're going to mention everything that is going on with Prince Andrew. And the reason for that is because of that linkage. That big umbrella swings all the way over here. I'm in the U.S., but I don't know if you are in the U.S., but it swings all the way over here to what we're dealing with in our world. And for us, the mantra is Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. Our people here, for the moment, they are not going to let that go. So there's more to come. And we don't know how they're going to try to hide it. But right now, it's going to drip out piece by piece. And we're here for it. So once again, folks, thank you guys for spending some time here with me today. I am so glad that you came and hung out. All right. Thank you so, so much. I'm going to have some more fun. Hopefully I'll get myself together over the weekend and maybe we'll put together some more stuff. But you guys enjoy the rest of your day as I try to stay awake. And oh, look at that. I love that Connie Palmer said she was sorry. I'm hanging in there. I'm doing the best I can do to hang in there. Please. I am doing what I can. Thank you so much. But you guys, thank you all for being here. And stay strong and stay supportive because we are going to have to be that way, right? Parents of adult children, get out and exercise.